Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Dear Masuma, the show that seeks to answer your deepest queries and concerns. My name is Sana Araji and I'm with Sister Masuma Jaffar. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
How are you doing today?
Alhamdulillah. How about yourself?
Alhamdulillah. It's nice to see you again.
Thank you.
And again, to answer our wonderful viewers' questions.
Sure.
So we'll just go straight to the question. Okay. Dear Masuma, I think that my husband may be addicted to narcotics. They are only prescription drugs at the moment, although I'm worried it may escalate to other non-legal forms. He has a debilitating condition which makes it almost difficult for him to function day to day. Doctors have advised that he take painkillers, but I've noticed that he's come all too dependent on them. When on medication, he is unable to function, and off medication, he is irritable and in pain. What should I do?
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. There's a few things that I think we need to sort of go into in this question. The first thing is that they are prescription drugs. So the doctor actually feels that this person needs them. And she's also said that he has a debilitating condition. And even on the drugs, he's unable to function properly. And when he's off them, he's irritable. So it shows that he actually absolutely requires them. So you can't look down on him or feel it's wrong if it's something that he absolutely needs medically. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is she's saying that at the moment, but she's worried that, you know, he's on prescription drugs at the moment, but she's worried that they may escalate to non-legal forms. We can't live our lives thinking of what may happen. We don't know what's going to happen. She can't decide that for him. She can't think that that's what's going to happen. She needs to trust that he has it in him not to do something that is haram. Maybe she needs to, you know, be there for him, sort of asking him if, you know, she can do anything to help with the pain and things like that. Maybe they can look at other forms of pain relief, like meditation, acupuncture, physio, and so forth. But I don't think it's right for her to say he shouldn't be taking these drugs, which are prescribed drugs, because there may be a chance that he may become addicted to the non-legal form. I think that's a huge jump, and you can't make that jump. You can't make that decision for someone else. She also says that you know, she's noticed that he's become dependent on them. Well, if you're in that much pain, you would be dependent on pain relief. It's easy for her to say because she's not in that situation. For someone who's living with pain constantly, every single day, every single minute of their life, it's awful. And, you know, of course they would be dependent on something that would give them a little bit of relief. So I think try not to be so judgmental. Try not to look down on your spouse for needing the pain relief, and try not to think of what ifs. Would be my sort of advice to her. And it shows that even with the medication, she says he's unable to function. So the pain must be quite severe. And she says that and without the medication, he's irritable and in pain. So obviously, you know, the medication does help, but it doesn't take it away totally. But it does help. And I think it's important for them to, you know, for her to empathize with that. I think we you know, you don't know what it feels like until you're in their shoes, sort of thing, until you're feeling that. It's really, really difficult. And it's sort of remembering that this person is an adult and they know the rules of Islam and they know, you know, what God wants from them, and trust that this person wouldn't do anything against God's laws, and also constantly be there for that person and actually ask them what they can do to help them. It's like, you know, as a wife, I would want to sort of, you know, what can I do to help you? Is there anything that I can do which can make it better? Maybe looking at different researches, different ways of coping with the pain, you know, different things that they could do together. It's
some non-medical treatments perhaps, or herbal treatments, certain things they can do together that she can assist him.
On top of the medication. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't mean, you know what, stop this and try this. It's like, again, recognizing that he needs those painkillers, but the painkillers aren't doing their job in the way that they're getting rid of the pain totally. So maybe he needs something on top as well.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe she doesn't understand his pain. So maybe she needs to go to his appointments and have, I mean, a lot of the time when you go to an appointments, they will ask for the partner to come so that they can understand. Because like you said, it's okay for her to say that, but she might not necessarily know.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think
what he's going through.
And I suppose if she's gone to the appointment, she can actually ask those questions that are worrying her as well. In like, what are the chances of addiction? You know, why are you giving him this painkiller and not another one? And, you know, things like that. And also just being there for that person.
Yeah.
Showing that you care enough to take time out of your life to actually be, you know, go to their appointments with them so that you can support them as well. Because I don't think anyone can feel someone else's pain, because pain is very subjective. What, you know, you could cope with and what I could cope with would be totally different.
Yeah.
And then again, it's where you are in your life and how much pain you felt. It's like, you know, before I gave birth, you know, a little bit of pain would be huge in my eyes. But after birth, it's like you're comparing it all to sort of childbirth and thinking,
exactly,
okay, this pain's not that bad. You know?
Compared to that, yeah.
Exactly. So I think it's, you know, it depends on, it's very, very subjective.
Okay.
So, and it's not to say that this person is, you know, not strong or they can't cope. Different people have different, you know, thresholds, and that's the way God's made them.
Yeah, and what, you know, why would she think that he would go for non-legal forms unless there's been sort of any sort of signs, or maybe he's mentioned it? I don't know, but why would anyone think that? You know,
again, having those conversations, and a lot of the times I think it may not have even come from her spouse. It may be just something that she's heard about. You know, where, you know, you're constantly being bombarded, especially with you know, the internet and everything, of what other people are doing and all these scary stories and things. And so maybe she's got that in her head. Yeah. So it may be that. It may be something from his past. It may be, you know, and again, these are conversations that they need to have as a couple. And if, you know, and she should be supporting him in a way that he feels comfortable enough to tell her, yes, I am worried that I may need something stronger and I don't want to do anything haram. Or she can turn around and say, well, you know what, your pain is so severe, do you think you would actually go towards something illegal? Okay. And having those, you know, conversations straight out sort of thing, without beating around the bush, and actually saying to him, you know, how can I support you in not doing something that would be haram?
Okay. And what is the Islamic ruling on using non-legal forms of drugs for medical purposes, such as medical marijuana, these things? Like what would Islamically, you know, is that allowed? Is it prohibited?
As long as it is actually something that the doctor says that you absolutely require and you feel that you need it as well, and it's not something that actually messes around with your conscience so much that you're not aware of what you're doing and how you're doing it. You know, you would take the thing that is the least addictive, the least effective on your mental health sort of thing. And again, that's how the doctors would prescribe it. I mean, like we're told that those who are in the last stages of cancer in so much pain, they're actually given really, really strong painkillers, so much so that they're actually not aware anymore. But that's what they require. So as long as it's been prescribed by a doctor and it's something that is absolutely needed by you, I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. Okay. It's when you're trying to kid the doctor because you want it, or when the doctor is not prescribed it and you feel like you need it and you'll get going elsewhere and you can't justify it to a doctor that you need it, then there's a problem.
So what about if the country you're living in, for example, medical marijuana? In the UK, I don't think they prescribe that. Not that I'm aware of. I think some epilepsy cases, it's been allowed in certain dosages. But for example, if somebody knows that a doctor in another country has said this would benefit you, but the country you're living in, it's not part of their legal, it's not lawfully allowed, are they allowed to go and get it? I'm not saying illegally, but are they allowed to go and get it independently, away from, like, not from the doctor?
Again, I think marijuana in its the medical form is not. It has a different constitution than the one that you would get on the streets. Okay. So you know, the one that you'd get on the streets, which actually affects your mental ability, okay, would be considered as haram. I don't know. I know it's different, but I don't know how different, and I don't know how much it affects your mental ability. It's something that you need to look at, and actually maybe specifically ask the merger that you're following in how much, whether you'd be allowed to take this, dependent on how much pain you're in. And the second thing is also, you know, part of being a Muslim, when you're living in a country, you've sort of signed up to following the rules of that country. So as a Muslim, you need to be true to that. And sort of say, look, if it's illegal in this country, then I'm actually doing something wrong when I'm doing something illegal.
Okay.
And you know, it's even simple things like, and recognizing that, you know what, if I do it and I get caught, then it's not only my name that's going to go down the drain, it's a Muslim person who's done this. I'm actually someone who's representing Islam. I've actually done a disservice to Islam. So I think that's really, really important as well.
Yeah, I guess you don't think of it like that. I think when people are in extreme cases of pain, they kind of just seek anything that they're able to get, and it's just almost like when you're in labour and you're in excruciating pain, you just want anything to kind of stop the pain. So sometimes maybe they could get blinded and fall into the trap of going for non-legal forms.
And I think that's where the spouse comes in, and
Right.
you know, actually sort of supporting the person in being there for the person, because they're not in pain. They can think rationally, and they can, you know, think logically, and they can then help guide that person to making the right decisions. And again, guide, not force them to make the decisions they feel that should be right. So it's again having those conversations, being there, supporting that your spouse is really, really important. Even within childbirth, it's like, you know, how different is it, you know, in the olden days where you went in on your own compared to now where you have your spouse with you. It's a huge difference, because they're there and they're supporting you emotionally through the pain. They may not be feeling the pain, but just being there, I think, helps, knowing that there's someone else there who's there for you, you know, sort of has got your back. And, you know, if the nurses or the doctors want to do something which, you know, you would not want, either from an Islamic perspective or from your own personal perspective, that your spouse will be there to say, no, this isn't what this person wanted. Sort of.
And what if you have children that are just, they don't understand that, you know, daddy's got lots of pain or anything, and they want you to be around them, play with them. Like, what role does the mother have in making her children understand, or like what could be done so that the whole family can kind of work together?
I think a lot of the times parents tend to keep the children sort of in the shield the children. They don't want the children to know what's going on.
Right.
And children are very, very smart. They'll pick up that there's something wrong. Now, if they don't know the ins and outs of it, it actually makes it worse for them, because they're then putting the puzzles and putting the wrong puzzles together. Yeah. And that makes it worse. I think children are very, very resilient. They can actually cope with a lot more than we as parents give them credit for. Actually having that, dependent on the child's age, obviously, you know, actually explaining to the child, because this isn't something that's going to go away. It seems like it's a lifetime condition that this person has. So it's important that the children are part of the journey as well, and they support, you know, each other as a family. It's really, really important. And again, I think we always have to remember that God is part of this journey as well. He's not abandoned this family. The fact that this person is going through so much, whether it's through his own doing, whether it's through something that's been done to him, or whether it's just, you know, something that's been given to him by God, whatever the situation behind why he's in so much pain, God hasn't abandoned him. So either God's put him in that situation because he knows that this person has the ability to really grow from this situation, or he's given him the tools to be able to grow from this situation if God hasn't directly put him in this situation. So realizing that God's there for the whole family, sort of praying together, asking Allah to help them, you know, sort of constantly using Allah as, you know, when things are really, really difficult, actually trying to connect to Allah really, really helps, and explaining to your child what's going on, knowing that, again, they have the ability to grow from this, because God will give them the tools to be able to. So it's not going to be something that, you know, will mess them up for the rest of their life, but it'll be dependent on how well you talk to them and how you explain it to them. It'll actually be a huge growth for them. So, you know, so for example, I know of a family whose father was going through cancer, and the mother would take her daughter to all the appointments. So she saw what was happening in the hospital and everything. She saw what her father was going through. She saw the other victims of cancer as well. And it actually, you know, it had a huge effect on her, and she had a lot of questions. This girl had a lot of questions, but what it did do, and the mother was saying on hindsight, you know, it made her realize, you know, that there's so much pain out there that other people are going through, and you know, made her appreciate her life. And eventually they lost the father. But again, the child was able to cope with that because she saw how much pain her father was going through. Right. And it was like, no, Mummy, it's better he's gone back to God, because now he's not in pain anymore. Now, if you've not been told about this illness and suddenly your father passes away, it's huge. How do you deal with that? It's like, why did, you know, my father go away? Why did God take him away? You know, why? Whereas this child was able to sort of comprehend that, you know what, my father's actually in a better place now, and I'm grateful for that. Yes, I miss him like crazy, but I'm grateful for that. And it's made her very much more empathetic towards others who are going through pain. And she sees, you know, the mother was actually telling me the other day, she notices even when someone else is sad. She's toned that sort of, that part of her brain where she's actually now very aware of other people's feelings.
SubhanAllah.
So, you know, there is a lot of growth that comes out of these life situations. And again, they're only life situations. They're there for a while, even if it's for a few years. I know for that person it's huge. But inshallah, what they get in akhirah, because of what they've been through for that many years, is going to be amazing.
It's like the transition of everything is a lot easier for the child. So that might have been in that situation with cancer, but it could be for extreme pain, because we don't know this. Inshallah, this father gets better, but it could get worse. So I guess, like what you're saying, is it's better to be open and honest with the children so they understand.
Exactly. And if the father's not playing with the child, and the child doesn't understand why the father's not playing with them or not spending time with them, it may be the sort of, oh, I'm not good enough for my father to spend time with me.
Okay.
Or my father doesn't care about me, or my father doesn't love me. Whereas if they understand that, no, he wants to, but he can't, he's not able to because of the pain he's feeling, it makes a huge difference in the way that you're going to, you know, grow up.
Okay, yeah, no, I understand. And also it will take away a little of the burden and stress from the mother, because maybe she's having to hide it. And so she has that additional stress of having to make sure the kids don't know. And then maybe once it's out in the open, it might make her feel a bit better. And then because we're not forgetting that maybe she's suffering mentally, the fact that, you know, her husband is going through this, and it might be her test and to see how she's, you know, coping or managing with it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think also when you're trying to hide it, then you end up lying.
Right.
And that's huge as well, because it's like you're actually committing a sin by lying. So again, it's sort of, you know, why would you do that? Okay, you may not want to tell the whole truth, but you don't want to lie at the same time.
Okay.
And also, if I mean, inshallah, God give this person a long life, but if it's someone who's going to be passing away, wouldn't you want your child to spend as much time with that person as they can? And again, maybe they wouldn't spend that much time, especially, for example, if it's a teenager or something, and, you know, things are tense at home, but they don't know why they're tense at home. They'll want to go out with their friends. And then if that person passes away, there's going to be a lot of resentment. It's like, if you told me I could have spent more time with that, you know, with my parent, it's like, why did you take that away from me? I think it's really important. And also, I think as a family, it's like you can actually discuss death and realize that it's not an evil thing. It's just a transition into the next realm.
Okay, yeah.
And you know, how you're going to cope as a family once this person is left. You know, what is the last wishes that this person would want to tell you? Again, I'm not saying inshallah this person has a long life.
Inshallah, yeah.
I'm not talking specifically about this person. I'm just talking generally. It's like, you know, we tend to try to hide things. But I think if it's out there in the open, then, you know, you can have those conversations. You can sort of let people know what you want going forward, even when you're not in their life, what you would want for them. I mean, it's quite powerful, you know, as a mother. It's like if my daughter isn't married and I know I'm not going to be there to see her get married, there is advice I would want to give her. So maybe I could have that conversation, or even tape it for her, or write it down, you know, when she has her first child, and just things that you want to tell them, you know, so that you're still part of it even though you're not there anymore.
Yeah.
I think, you know, so having those open conversations is really, really important. And again, here, it will help the father if everyone is there supporting the father in the pain that he's feeling, so empathizing with him, and sort of, and sometimes I think with children it's like they have such a naive and beautiful way of trying to distract you. And if you know that, you know, your father is in pain, you know, as the child, you'll do something. Whereas I think as an adult, you can't let go of that, and you're constantly thinking of that pain, whereas the child can actually say, okay, you know what, I need to put Papa's mind off the pain. So they'll start messing around and playing and, you know, doing things which actually may help the father forget about the pain for a little while.
Yeah, I guess that's a kind of a good idea, and trying to making his mind not focus on the pains. And maybe, I don't know whether if the children do treat him as if he's in pain, will that make him feel less of a man, or, you know, could that make him feel, I don't know, not
I think
so
that would be
happy?
wrong, because if it's something that you've done to yourself, then and you're now not able to carry out your duties, then yes, you have a right to feel less of. But if it's something that is really through no fault of yours, so if it's an accident, or if it's something that has just come about, if it's some illness or something, you haven't brought that on yourself. That's why would you feel less of?
Okay. Because, you know, sometimes a lot of men have that kind of, that pride within them, and or they feel they're unable to, especially if, say, they want to go play football with their daughters or sons, and they're unable to do it. It could also cause them to have mental health problems and feeling that they're unable to do certain things.
Agreed, and I think that would be more if the child didn't know. So again, if the child would know, you can have that conversation and say, look, I would love to do this with you, and I feel so bad that I can't. But you know what? I'll come and watch you play football. I may not be able to play with you, but I'll come and watch you. Or, you know, let's do it this way, or let's do it that way. And actually come up with solutions that may help, rather than when you're not talking to them and you're just keeping it inside and you're feeling really bad. And again, you know, when you feel bad about something, actually discussing it helps, because the other person may not be looking at it the way that you're looking at it.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea, to be honest. Kind of thinking out of the box and finding a solution to what he's capable of doing, and also so it benefits both sides, inshallah.
But I think going back to this person, I think I would advise this person to, one, not to think of what ifs.
Okay.
Leave it to Allah. If there is a reason that she's worried about the future, then have those conversations with her husband.
Okay.
Secondly, realize that it is a debilitating condition, which she herself has said, and that's huge. She will never understand the pain that he's going through, and the fact that he needs these painkillers. And you know, it's easy to say, well, you know what, you're becoming dependent on them. Again, she's not feeling the pain, and maybe he is dependent on them, but there's nothing wrong with that if you need it.
Okay.
So that's important. You know, when he is being irritable, when he's not able to do what he's doing, you know, he's not functioning properly or anything, realize that it's because of the pain, not because he can't be bothered.
Okay.
So I think those are the things that I would tell her to sort of concentrate on, and sort of just literally keep talking to your husband and asking him what you can do. Because if you're coming up with things that you feel you can, you know, he should be doing, or you feel that it doesn't work, it's about, he's in that situation, he needs support. Ask him what support you can give him. Okay. Looking at different researches, you know, different ways of managing the pain, and actually then discussing it. And if he chooses not to use those, again, that's his journey. You can't force it on him.
Okay, no, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for summarising that up for us, Masuma. Inshallah, our dear viewers have also benefited from this discussion. And again, do keep sending us questions, whatever they may be, and we will put them forward to Sister Masuma, inshallah. Hopefully we can see you for another episode of Dear Masuma next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.